The Galactic Coalition had seen many things in their 1,000-year history, but they had never seen anything quite like Dr. Maya Chen. She sat perfectly still in the center of the massive negotiation chamber, her hands folded calmly in her lap, while 7 different alien species argued around her with increasing desperation. The translator implants buzzed with overlapping voices, chittering from the insectoid Vexhi, deep rumbles from the silicon-based Kron, melodic trills from the aquatic Delmari. Each species was louder than the last, their panic palpable. The humans sent one negotiator? Ambassador Zexthul of the Dominion hissed, his 4 eyes darting nervously between Maya and his compatriots. One small silent creature? Perhaps it's broken, suggested Commander Vrex of the warrior caste Thurok, poking at the air near Maya with a clawed appendage. She didn't even blink. Maya had arrived 3 standard hours ago on a modest transport ship. No escort, no fanfare, no weapons. The Coalition had expected a delegation, perhaps even a fleet. The humans had been invited to these peace talks as a formality, really. They were newcomers to the galactic stage, barely a century since first contact. Surely they understood their place in the hierarchy. The war between the Coalition's 7 founding species had raged for 3 decades. Entire star systems had been reduced to rubble. Trade routes were destroyed. The economic collapse threatened to tear apart civilized space. They needed someone to mediate, someone neutral. Earth had simply responded, "We're sending our best." And then Maya Chen had walked off that transport ship alone. She was unremarkable by human standards, average height, dark hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, wearing plain gray clothing that seemed almost primitive compared to the elaborate regalia of the alien dignitaries. She had introduced herself quietly, shaken hands, or appendages with everyone, and then sat down. For 3 hours, she had said nothing. "Does it even understand us?" wheezed Administrator Glon of the gas giant dwelling Nephilim, their translation, device crackling with static. Maya's dark eyes moved slowly across the room, taking in each speaker with an unsettling calm. When she finally spoke, her voice was so soft that every being in the chamber instinctively leaned forward. "I understand perfectly." The silence that followed was deafening. 7 species that had been screaming at each other for decades, suddenly, found themselves holding their breath, waiting for this tiny human to continue. She didn't. Ambassador Zexthul's diplomatic training kicked in. "Dr. Chen, we appreciate Earth's minimal contribution to these proceedings, but perhaps you could share your government's position on the territorial disputes?" Maya tilted her head slightly. "What territorial disputes?" The question hung in the air like a loaded weapon. Every being in the room felt their anxiety spike. This human couldn't possibly be serious. The entire reason we're here?" Commander Vrex sputtered. "The Vexhi expansion into Dominion space, the Kron mineral rights, the Delmari trade embargo." "Ah," Maya said, nodding once. "You mean the symptoms?" Symptoms? The word rippled through the room's translation matrix in 7 different languages, each carrying its own shade of confusion and growing dread. Maya stood up, still moving with that same unnerving calm, and walked to the massive holographic display showing the contested star systems. She studied it for a long moment, her small, human hands clasped behind her back. "You've been fighting over resources," she said finally. "Energy sources, rare minerals, strategic positions. But you're not fighting because you need these things." She turned back to face the assembly. "You're fighting because you're afraid." The chamber erupted in indignant protests, but Maya continued, in that same quiet voice somehow cutting through the cacophony. "The Vexhi expand because their birth rate is declining and they fear extinction. The Dominion hoards territory because they remember being refugees. The Kron mine aggressively because their sun is dying. The Delmari embargo everything because they've been betrayed by allies before." She paused, letting her words sink in. "Fear makes you desperate. Desperation makes you stupid. And stupidity—" She gestured at the holographic display of devastated star systems. "Well," Commander Vrex slammed a massive fist against the table. "How dare this primitive—" Commander, Maya interrupted, her voice still barely above a whisper. Every being in the room strained to hear her. Your species produces the finest warriors in the galaxy. Your military academies are legendary. Your tactical innovations have shaped modern warfare. The Thurok commander's chest swelled with pride. So why? Maya continued. Are you losing a war against economists and farmers? The pride deflated like a punctured atmospheric seal. Maya walked back to her seat, her footsteps the only sound in the massive chamber. She sat down, folded her hands again and waited. That's not, Administrator Glon wheezed. The Delmari control your supply lines, Maya said conversationally. The Nephilim manipulate your currencies. The Vexhai have turned your own citizens against you through superior intelligence networks. The Dominion plays you against each other while staying safely neutral. She looked around the room. You're not fighting 7 separate wars. You're all losing the same war to the same enemy. Your own inability to trust each other. The silence stretched on for several minutes. Finally, Ambassador Zexathul spoke, his voice smaller than before. And what does Earth propose we do about it? Maya smiled, the first expression she'd shown since arriving. Earth proposes you stop being idiots. The bluntness of it hit like a physical blow. Several ambassadors actually recoiled. Trust, Maya continued, is not about eliminating risk. It's about accepting that cooperation offers better returns than competition. The Kron need energy. The Delmari have fusion technology to spare. The Vexhai need genetic diversity. The Dominion has the galaxy's largest refugee populations. The Thurok need worthy opponents. Pirates and raiders threaten everyone's trade routes. She stood again, but this time her presence seemed to fill the enormous chamber. You have complementary needs and compatible resources. The only thing standing between you and prosperity is your stubborn insistence on solving tomorrow's problems with yesterday's fears. Ambassador Zexthul's 4 eyes blinked in rapid succession, a sign of deep thought in his species. You make it sound simple. It is simple, Maya replied. Simple isn't the same as easy. Over the following weeks, Dr. Maya Chen continued to say very little. But when she did speak, entire delegations hung on her words. She asked uncomfortable questions. She pointed out inconvenient truths. She sat in perfect stillness while others argued, then quietly dismantled their arguments with surgical precision. She never raised her voice. She never showed anger or frustration. She simply waited, watched, and spoke truth when it was needed most. The peace accords signed 3 months later became known as the Chen Protocols. Trade resumed. Territories were redistributed based on need rather than strength. The 7 species began to prosper as never before. But what the galaxy remembered most wasn't the complex treaties or the economic frameworks. It was the terror they'd felt in the presence of someone who could end wars simply by refusing to be impressed by them. Earth had sent its quietest human. The galaxy would never be quite so loud again.